Step into the paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler, brought to you by Paranormal Inc., right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Step Into the Paranormal, episode 43. So,
they're getting up there.
They're getting there. Good. Thank you for who that just said loving the intro. Hi, Carmen. How you doing? So we got a very interesting show tonight.
Yeah, it's this is a funny story. Our guest tonight is a good friend of mine, and I met her after we filmed Haunted Hospitals
for the Discovery Plus channel.
So as we get further into talk and conversation, she tells me her paranormal team that she's a part of.
Okay.
I already knew about her paranormal team. I just didn't realize she was one of the members of it. You know what I mean? So it was like, wow, what a small world. But right now we're going to introduce to you our friend Jaimie Adams. She is from the New England Spirit Society up in New Hampshire.
Hi, Jaimie. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. So hopefully this now works. Because we had some audio and some video difficulties, so apparently StreamYard Facebook decided to delete some of our stream, and so we quickly had to recreate stuff. And please stand by. Technical difficulties.
I tell you what, man, we've been having so much technical difficulties lately.
Yeah, last night
we got to get one of them screens that pop up and say like technical.
Please stand by
and play some music or something.
All right, so we went to one of our favorite places, Sandy Miller Mansion. I am a tech guru. I hold over 450 certifications in information technology. I'm pretty good at what I do. We used this computer that I'm on right now and the speaker for our spirit box. And literally all I did was close the lid like I normally do, turn the speaker off, take a break with the guest, went to use it, damn thing wouldn't work again. Would not connect.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the spirit box kept crashing on me.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but several people during this Phasma box session last night that Dave's talking about, a couple of the guests were actually filming, and I was unaware because you know how people just start. So you'll see Dave sitting there like this playing on his laptop. So that's what Dave was doing.
Trying to get it working again. It just died.
So, Jaimie, I don't even know where to start to talk about what we're going to talk about. So
what a ride it's been, huh?
I watched your episode. I was at work. I watched your episode as soon as it got released, because what happens is for those that don't know, Discovery Plus releases the new episodes at 4 a.m. and normal people aren't up at 4 a.m. So I was waiting, and at like 4:01 I watched your episode, and man, I was blown away. I mean, not because you're our friend, but just the story and the turn, like the direction the story went. It completely caught me off guard. I was so intrigued by it. It was so cool.
I was happy with the way that it turned out. It's kind of different. It's not so much on the spooky side, but it kind of brought. And my hope was that they would capture the reality of what these people are facing every day in the past, year and a half, really.
Right.
And I think they did a really good job capturing that. So it wasn't, the spooky, creepy. It was, it was comforting. You know what I mean? Just knowing that it was like they knew that there was something major going on. Family can't be there. So like they were there in their time of need.
And the thing that I hate to use the word enjoyed about it, but the what I liked about your story was in the beginning how the first entity that you all came in contact with actually pushed the lady, and then as the story wrapped up, it was like of a whole different nature. You know what I mean? So you kind of got the spooky, and then it was actually kind of very touching. The end of the segment. I was so surprised, and I really did. I enjoyed it. I've watched it, I think 3 times already, You know,
You've watched it more than I have.
It was it was good. What was How did you enjoy your New York experience?
Well, I grew up in Connecticut, so I was familiar with New York City anyway. I spent my whole childhood going to New York City multiple times a year. So with the time of COVID and with my husband he has heart issues, so high risk. So I went to the hotel, I checked in, and that was it. I didn't go out and do anything. But it's just like I remember a lot of traffic, even though, everything's shut down. There's still a lot of traffic.
I used to live at 120 Central Park, Southeast Manhattan every summer. So literally right at the base of Central Park. And only New Yorkers will understand this. My grandfather was the head super. So he was in a basement apartment, and he owns New York. I loved it.
Jaimie, that was actually my first time in New York. And I think I checked in because we were were we in the same hotel?
We were, because when I checked in, she's like, oh, what do you, because I think they were just asking people, basically, the city's shut down prior year.
Right.
And she was doing it a nice way. And I was like, oh, I'm taping an episode for Haunted Hospitals. And she's like, there's another guy here doing that. And I came this close to saying, hey, feel free to, if you can call them in their room and have them ring my room, I'd love to talk to them. But then I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Creepy stalkerish. Hi, I'm here for Haunted Hospitals.
But it was I was just like with what you said. I got there, I guess I checked in probably, I don't know, 3:30ish, somewhere around there. And so I get settled in my room, and I'm like, I got to find a good place to eat. So I go down to the front. The people in the hotel were so nice to begin with. And the lady's like, yeah, if you go out here and go this way, there's a deli. So, I'm walking through Long Island City, and I'm like, it's kind of sketchy looking, So I found this deli.
We call that New York.
I found this deli. I get my food. I go back to my room. And so, of course, I'm going to watch the Travel Channel because that's who we were originally there filming for.
Yeah.
And I put the TV on, and I seen my friend on Travel Channel on one of the shows. So I kind of like call him up, and I'm eating my sandwich and talking about the episode he's on. So later that night, I said, man, I think I'm going to just go out. I'm not going far, but I'm going out and walk around just since I've never been there. So I have that app on my phone that whatever I'm close to, like if there's crime or whatever. So it was about 8:30 at night. I'm putting my sweatpants on. I'm going to go for a walk. Well, I get this alert on my phone. 0.6 miles from the hotel, there was a triple shooting. And I'm like, I guess I'll just watch another episode of Paranormal 911,
Yeah. Yeah, they roll up the streets at 9 o'clock for the criminals in New York.
But it was fun, man. That was my first time driving in New York, and I'm a Sunday driver, so how that went.
Right.
But it was good. And like I said, I don't know if you had any encounters like with the hotel people, but they were so nice. They were just,
Yeah, the only one I saw were the people at the desk, and they were just, like you said, just nice.
Yeah. They really were. And
I asked her about takeout. She's like, she just like kind of looked at me. She's like, we have stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point taken.
But I'll tell you what, and I think the scariest part of the whole entire 3 days or whatever we were there was taking Ubers to the studio.
I drove.
Oh.
I didn't bother with an Uber. I just drove because I left as soon as I was done.
Oh, because I took Ubers. I took Ubers to the studio, and when we were done filming, I took one back to the hotel, and then I checked out. I was sitting in the back, man. I was holding on for dear life. I was like,
not in control.
No. Let me tell you, I felt like I was in a demolition derby. I was like,
welcome to New York.
Yeah.
Here's your nitro as you get into the Uber.
What when did the story you told, Jaimie? When did that actually?
To let people know, this is on Discovery Channel. It's on haunted hospitals. Episode 9.
No,
Season 3, episode 9.
Hers is 9 and mine is 6. When did that actually occur?
So, just a little background on my involvement. So, I live in New Hampshire, and when the state of emergency happened, the governor had made a call for help to anybody that has any medical background. Please join X. It's a website where you can actually go in and sign up. And they're looking for anybody with any kind of a medical background because they didn't know what they were going to need. So in the EMT, I signed up and said, I'm willing. Of course, I talked to my husband. My mom was living here with us at the time. And so I have a 3-year-old. Well, she was 2.5 at the time. And a call,
that's not me.
I got an email asking if I would be willing to work as an LNA in a nursing facility. And I talked to my husband, my mom about it. And my husband's like, go for it. My mom's like, I got your daughter, because my husband's still working from home. And so the only rule they had was don't come home until you've quarantined. I said, okay. So at first it was going to be just like, short period of time, like a week, maybe 2 weeks, till they figured everything out. And then it ended up extending. So I was gone for 2 full months.
Oh, wow. God bless.
So April 24th to June 10th. So, and the last 2 weeks in June, I was quarantined. So June 10th was when I got to come home finally. So that all happened the first night. It was so busy just because I'm learning. Yeah, I've never been there before. I don't know any of these people. So I don't even think I sat down. I know I didn't get a chance to take a break or eat anything in that 8-hour shift.
Oh, wow.
And then the second night, because people weren't real sick yet, they had just been diagnosed and they were starting to become symptomatic. So the second night, it just kind of sat down. I was like,
before we go any further, for those of you watching or listening or however you're catching this, just take a moment. I mean, we've all been through this with this, how it's changed everyone's life, but it's so commendable what you did.
Amen.
I mean, you have a husband, a small child, and to just volunteer to throw yourself in harm's way. I mean,
that's a true hero.
And that there, folks, is like, we always are trying to do things and say things about the paranormal family and the paranormal community. And this just goes to show you and validates. I mean, you literally just could have harmed. I mean, it just blows my mind that someone would step up and put themselves in a situation like that for people that they don't even know. You know what I mean? So sorry to interrupt. I just had to get that out there, but
there's a horn there. He just wanted to go. Bah, bah, bah.
I know Ernie well. Yeah, and you know what though, Ernie? I guess I don't think about it like that.
Right.
I look at it from a different perspective. So I ended up getting contacted by the New Hampshire Spirit Award.
Mm-hmm.
It's an organization that they look for the volunteers of New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big deal, and I had never heard of it because I hadn't been into that kind of a realm
right
up to this point. And so I won the New Hampshire Volunteer of the Year Award.
Oh, nice.
And I said to the lady that was my contact through the state of New Hampshire, I'm like, Colleen, how am I even like part of this? I'm like, there had to have been a lot of people that stepped up. And she's like, no, you were the only one in the state that committed that much time and stepped up like that. And that to me just kind of boggles my mind.
Yeah.
But then again, I also have to look at it as I'm lucky because I'm a stay-at-home mom and I had childcare. So a lot of people did step up when they could.
Right.
I was working on a team. We were doing the testing when the testing first came out. And like those folks, man, if you haven't worked in the back whoever that was that said, "Yay, hi Jaimie, hi back."
That is
so I'm wondering
Jane
who's
Gammon.
Oh, Jane, she's deaf. One of my good friends.
And the other
I
person was Ashley LaPont. Hope I said that right. And if I didn't, I apologize.
The thing is, it's nothing against people that turned it down or didn't step up, because the people that didn't, you have to think too, it's a reason. You know, they may have folks at home,
right,
or for whatever reason may prevent them.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. I mean, not crazy, but the fact that you are a stay-at-home mom and that you have a child, and you know, just put yourself in harm's way. I mean, not speaking just about the paranormal, but the world itself just needs selfless.
Right.
Is that the right word? Selflessness.
Yeah. Correct.
I always get that wrong. Selflessness. People like that. Yeah. And I mean, that was amazing.
Pay it forward, and you did it and then some. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the experience you had. You know what I mean? So.
Luckily, I didn't bring any of them home.
Let me ask you this, Jaimie. When you went in there and you were getting your mind right and you were getting in that mode, you're going in to help people. Did it ever occur to you, like, I'm just going to have this amazingly fascinating paranormal experience? That's probably the last thing on your mind.
I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, that second night. So, the timeline is a little bit different than what happened. But I do understand why they did it the way they did it, because they wouldn't have been able to bring that story completely together to be what it was.
They did the same thing to him.
They did the same thing to Maya, but
creative artistry.
So I understand why they did it, and you know, I'm happy with how they did it. So, you know, that second night when we had a chance to sit down, I got, you got your gown on, and you got all your PPE on, you got your N95 mask, and you got your face shield down, and I keep seeing like movement on both sides of my head, and I'm like, so I take my shield off and I'm looking around, and of course now like the paranormal investigator starts coming out, right? So I'm like watching, and the nurse is sitting there, you know, bebopping on the computer doing her charting, and then she like stops and she looks at me and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Don't you see that?" And she's like, "The shadows?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes,
wow.
"I see them all the time." I'm like, "Are you serious?"
And you're just now telling me?
Like, I'm not, we're fine. Not a problem.
I'd have been like, "You're just now telling me this?" Oh, my goodness.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, we see that shit all the time. Why not?
I'm walking down to both ends of the hall, and I'm like, okay, so on one end of the hall, it's completely black. Like, so there's double doors on both ends of the hallway. So we're sequestered. Like, you're not leaving this unit. Like, enjoy it. Get to know it, because you're not leaving it. And so on one end is the way we were getting in and out. So all the lights were off. There's nothing on that end of the hallway. You go to the other end, that's where the nurse's station is. The doors are closed. Hey, Boats. Jaimie, who is the good-looking guy. Thanks, buddy. One of my teammates.
I take it.
I'm wondering if like somebody's down there on the other side of that door and casting a shadow when they're walking by or whatever. So I'm watching the shadows as I'm getting closer, and like, you know, common sense is telling me I see the shadow on the inside of the door. That's not the case, but I still got to rule it out.
Right.
So I go down there and I like poke my head through the door, because you can't really open the door. And I like look, and there's nobody out there, and I'm like, okay, so I'm really seeing what I'm seeing. So I was like, all right, you kind of get creeped out a little bit, because this is a new building to me. I don't know these people. I don't know any story. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get that creepy feeling, but not the scared feeling. Just like, ooh. And as the time went on, and when our residents started getting sicker and sicker and sicker, we noticed a huge change in just the environment. It just became a very oppressive.
Right.
Dark
thick-aired, heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we noticed a lot more activity picking up. And if I start crying, I'm going to apologize now, because that show they did such a good job.
They did.
Had me in tears.
They did.
It brought back up a lot of emotion. But
that's from Pam McNay.
We knew. Thanks, Pam. We knew who was going to die within the next 24 hours because that's where we started seeing activity picking up.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sorry, I didn't expect talking about this would really do this to me, but so I apologize.
How did you, Jaimie?
No apology necessary, sweetie.
What you all were going through and knowing what you knew, I mean, how was it just the inside the good that you knew you were doing? Is that what mentally kept you focused and got you through? You know what I mean? What kept you guys going forward with this? Because it's so traumatic.
Well, my background, I was in the military. I've been a first responder for 26 years, fire, police, EMS. I was law enforcement in the Air Force. So I've been trained to deal with situations where you got to just stay dynamic and you can't get attached. You just got to move on. But man, this was different. Like you're working with these people. I wasn't prepared. I remember coming home that first week, like every day, just every couple weeks, really. Until people started actually getting better instead of dying on us.
Right.
So it was just like one of those things where I'm just like, I'm first responder through and through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pick a patient up, drop them off at the hospital, have a good day, and you never know what the outcome is.
Right.
You usually don't know what the outcome is.
And he's a police officer. I used to be one. Yeah. Both EMTs through the state of Maryland. So we understand. You don't get to know the end of the story.
That's why Ernie and I hit it off so well because, like, we can talk the talk. We know what we're talking about. We can put each other, stand in each other's shoes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always get that. I'm sure you do as well. And Dave, people ask me, like, how do you deal with certain things? And when you get home, how do you turn it off? And it's like cruise control.
It is.
The only thing that's still to this day that bothers me is when we have a very traumatic episode or incident with an elderly person or a child.
Mine's kids.
I mean,
100%.
That, Jaimie, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The thing with the children, man. We've had so many incidents at work, and you know, my squad, we're very, very tight squad. We're good friends. If people seen us out of the limelight of work before we get to a call, they'd be like, who are these clowns coming to my house? But, you know, we get in that mode when it's work time. And, you know, it's having that companionship and the trust with the people you work with to get you through. Not to mention our police department. When something bad happens, they are so quick to get us whatever we need, whoever we need to speak to. I love that. And it's just amazing. You know, my hat's off to them, but it's whenever it comes to a child, man, that
tears me up.
You know, I remember one time I was at work and I was at the same hospital that I referenced on the show. So my wife was at home and she was having like a pool party for all the kids in the family and a few of the neighborhood kids. And it was nice, man. She was cooking and the kids were in the pool. And my wife's always, I don't care.
His wife has awesome cooking.
I keep hearing that. I want some food.
I don't care if there's children in the pool that are 14 and 15. My wife will not leave. Like she sits there, you know, but anyhow. So I was at the hospital on a death report. And the nurse come up to me and said, hey, while you're here, we got another one they're bringing in. They said a 3-year-old just drowned in a pool. And Jaimie, I can't tell you how heartbreaking, because we have to go in. I mean, we don't manipulate anything, but we have to just look over the body and make sure there's no preliminary foul play. But all I remember is sitting outside and I just broke down. And the nurse come up and was like, are you all right? And I'm like, I'm fine, you know. But I remember calling my wife, and I didn't mean it the way it come across, but I started yelling at her, like, make sure you stay out there and don't take your eye. And she's like, you know, I'm sitting right here. Why are you yelling at me? And I hung up. And then when I got home, I explained to her. But Sorry for the ramble, but it just when it comes to children, when it comes to children with dealing with that stuff, man, that has got to be the hardest.
Yeah, it's hard to let it go, though. I mean, because you got to keep your career and your personal life separate. But there's times that you can't let it go, and you just bring it home with you, which it hurts you in your regular life.
And not that any good time is a good time, but I especially hate when we get these type of calls, and it's the first call right out of the gate at the start of the shift, because you already know what the next 12 hours is going to be like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just horrible. But anyway.
Well, thank you again for all you do.
Yeah, that was Let me ask you, Jaimie.
She wasn't done yet.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry because I'm already.
He goes like this all the time. I gotta keep.
My mind keeps.
What
I wanted to ask you, and this might tie in with what you were talking about. How do you think? Because Dave and I had about an hour discussion with Scott Porter about this. How do you think the whole COVID pandemic and everything involved in that? How do you think that affected the other realm, the spirit world?
I think it actually had a pretty big effect on it. Because I watched the changes there in a nursing home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I went from just seeing shadows, and then I'm seeing shadows visiting a certain room.
Oh, wow.
Like, I would see, it wouldn't be shadows at one, both ends of the hallway or whatever. I would see them physically going into a specific room. And we finally figured out that within 24 hours, that patient that resident was going to pass.
Oh, wow.
So you think
some of them, we were shocked.
You think they were coming to get them?
So
you think they were coming over to get them?
I think they were. I think they were coming over to help with their crossing, but some of the people we were shocked at, because we're like, oh no, they're doing fine, they're recovering, and sure enough, they didn't make it. Yeah. So wow. It was there was the one part of the story where I was sitting there holding one of the residents' hands. He was agonal. For those that don't know what agonal breathing is, that means they're actively dying. They're very close to death, and you're just like literally waiting for. They're barely breathing, but they've got what's called the death rattle. It sounds like a scary thing.
That
they're
raspy, yes.
Pain. Yeah, they're not in any pain. They can still hear and feel, but they're not feeling that pain. It's just natural progression. And I just remember I was praying because this poor guy just kept holding on, and I'm like, what are you waiting for? I didn't understand what he was waiting for. It was sad because I'm like, is he waiting for his family because they're not going to come? So I'm trying to explain to him why nobody's there with him, why it's me. And I have my head down and I have my shield on again, and I see, because we had to keep our eyes protected because we weren't quite sure at this point exactly how it's getting transmitted. And I'm seeing movement. I'm facing a door, and I'm seeing movement over the top of the shield. I'm like, whatever.
Is it the shield causing it? Yep.
You thought it was a reflection at first, right? Maybe.
I thought it was just, the shields. It's the plastic shield, so it really kind of messes with your eyesight, especially when you're wearing it for 8 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I take it off. And I'm like going back to talking to this resident and just praying over him. And then all of a sudden I'm like seeing it again. And I didn't move my head. I just put my eyes up. And I'm looking, and I'll be danged if I didn't actually see them walking through the door.
Oh, wow.
And I feel the room charge up with energy, like really ramped up. All my hair. This hair standing up on my arms, the back of my neck, and it just feels like electricity running through that entire room. But it was just comforting. I really can't explain it. It was just like, okay, backup's here.
You know what?
All right.
You know what I found just completely intriguing was everyone hears about, say someone is on their deathbed and, they're ready, the lights are about to go out on their physical body at any moment. And that person might start babbling about like childhood things or speaking to someone that's not there, that's already passed away. And, from the spiritual side of it, the theory is that when you're about to go, your mom or dad or grandparent comes over and, what I mean, assists you or guides you or helps you or comforts you, whatever. And just the fact that this was happening, but I don't recall of any cases that I can think of right off the top of my head where a living person actually saw this. You know what I mean? Because you hear it all the time, like, and I've encountered it with people that I've been with when they pass away. They start talking to someone that's died 50 years ago.
My grandmother did that to my grandfather, and he passed a year before. And she called him Jimmy, and she started just talking to him, and I'm like, Nanny, you okay? And she was having a full-blown conversation with him.
Yeah.
And it just, and she didn't have dementia. She didn't have senility.
Right.
Her body was just done. And when that happened, it just, now today that I look back on it, is just.
But the fact that you all saw this, man, I mean, that's just maybe, but then again, I always try to look at maybe those shadows, they let themselves be seen by you all to provide comfort to you as well.
I hadn't actually looked at it like that.
Think about it. If that person would have just passed away, like you said, you thought they were getting better. And now all of a sudden, this whole thing with the shadows and their condition worsened. Maybe they
prepping you. Rather than
let you see them. So that, because you said it was kind of, I forget the word you just used, but when you saw them do that. So that might have been to help you all as well. To give you some peace of mind that they're okay. But
yeah, and it was funny because you talk to some of the nurses that I worked with, and they're like, "I wish I could see stuff. I've never seen or heard anything."
Right.
And then there's this one nurse that.
Careful what you wish for.
She and I got along really well because, like, she'd be like, "Did you just hear that? Like, we were chasing noises, and then we're sitting in the nurses' station, and there's this other nurse that I was working with. It was one of my last nights." And we hear this, "Help me," like loud scream. So we're in the nurse's station. So by this, our unit was now non-COVID.
Right.
And the other unit, unfortunately, was now COVID. So we're we actually have free room in the building now. We're like, woohoo, we graduated, right? So we're enjoying actually having some quiet nights where people were sleeping. They weren't ringing their bells every 15 minutes to relieve themselves, or, I'm not feeling good, or my head hurts, or chasing people down that are trying to get out of bed that shouldn't be out of bed. Not chasing them down, but you know what I mean? Having to constantly check on these people because they were restless. They weren't sleeping.
Right.
And so we were sitting there, and it's dead quiet. We're both doing charting. And we hear that, and excuse me, your mind knows, I just heard it here, like in this room, right in front of us. But your reaction is, holy crap, did somebody fall out of bed?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up and I'm running. The nurse that I was with, Sue, she's sitting by the phone just in case she has to call for an ambulance, because it was that kind of a help.
Right.
Help me. And I run, and I'm looking into all the females' rooms because it was female. And I'm like in a dead run, just didn't hear anything. And I didn't see anything quickly. So I come back, and I'm checking every single room. She's starting to walk down. So we're kind of meeting in the middle, checking every single room. And she looked at me, and she's like, that wasn't down here, right? I'm like, I know. Pretty sure that was like right between you and I. And she's like, yeah, that's where I think it was.
Wow.
So we're like, huh.
Oh, wow.
And then she goes, what's messed up is she says, I recognize the voice.
Ooh.
And I'm like, really? I was like, who is it? And she's like, it's a resident that I sent out a few days ago to the hospital. And so she called the nurse at the hospital and was like, "Can you do me a favor and just check on that patient?" And she did. She's like, she's sleeping soundly. She's doing good. And it was like,
oh wow, that's
what?
kind of
Now.
And then you would like walk down the hallway. There's a hallway where it's just like offices, the kitchen, things like that. There's no residents down there, and you'd have to go down and get more supplies or whatever. And you'd hear doorknobs rattling. So even as an investigator, you're by yourself. So it's a little creepy.
Do you think, because, being an investigator of the paranormal and being on an established team, do you feel that this activity was transparent because you were there? Do you think if you weren't there, all these incidents would still have occurred and other people would have seen it? Or do you think maybe?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, because two of the nurses that I worked with, they're like, yeah, we see stuff all the time. They've been able to identify some of the shadows as former residents.
Wow.
how nice.
They, hearing the voice, she knew exactly who it was.
Yeah.
And the one where the guy pushed his wife, it's like,
Yeah.
I know I physically saw him.
That kind of creeped me out.
That
though.
was
kind of creepy.
Yeah, that was, and see, people get, and you'll agree with me on this, Jaimie. People get the wrong misconception, I think, because of all the TV shows that when dark shadows and stuff along those lines are involved, everybody automatically thinks bad and it's something evil. But I can assure everyone, just recently, within the past 6 weeks, I saw what I believed was a shadow of someone recently passed. And their shadow was so distinct to me, that's how I knew who I believed that it was. And it's the same along the lines with what you were just saying, that the coworker was saying, that she knew who it was. But, people shouldn't automatically assume because, right, I just seen a dark shadow and this and that, that it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just in it all, I guess you could say, is just how they're able to show themselves at the time or whatever. But just don't always associate that dark shadow with something bad.
I did tell my team when I got home, I'm like, listen, if that place ever closes down, we're going there.
And you have our numbers.
And your friends from Maryland are headed north.
Hey, Ernie, Dave, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We just went to Iowa. Hey, we'll come up there.
Yeah, we're Ernie's a world traveler now.
We got him on his first flight a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, the funny part is the pilots actually gave him a little big boy wings.
My daughter has been on like 18 flights and she doesn't have wings yet.
The stewardess actually gave him a set of big boy wings.
When we got off the plane, the stewardess was actually following me through the airport.
Are you really?
Are you really?
And he's like, yeah.
But thanks to him. But at one point, I thought you all were going to be asking, on your next EVP session, is this Ernie we're speaking with? Because I remember the plane took its first left turn and it kind of all the way over, and I'm like, this is it. This is
he made some really cool noises.
This is where it ends. And I'm leaning toward Dave, and I'm like, I'm gonna die on top of Dave of all people,
What was that show when we were kids? Looks like this is the end.
But when that plane took the hard left and I seen that wing go up, I was like,
yeah, the first turbulence he hit, I thought he was gonna die. He's like,
they must have thought like I was. The people on the plane must have thought I was special because every creak and sound and movement, Dave was like, no. Dave was explaining it to me like that was just this happened, and I'm like,
that's okay. The landing gear coming up. We're okay. Those are the flaps coming down. We're getting ready to land.
So, we just came back from Florida. My daughter, she's 3.5.
Oh my goodness!
I've had her flying every couple months. except for the last year.
You have to.
Ever since she was like 3 months.
But you have to look at it, Jaimie. I'm 52 years old, never been on a plane in my life, and was on 4 of them in 3 days.
So this last trip that we were going down to Florida, and the lady was just like you that was sitting next to us. She's like grabbing onto the seat, and she's all like deep breathing, and like I was like, Jesus, is she in labor? She's too old for that. Like, holy crap! I mean, she was like scared to death. And we start going. Now we haven't even taken off yet, by the way.
Oh God.
There's my daughter in the middle seat.
Are we there yet?
At the window, and there's my daughter. Whee! Whee! She's all excited. This is so much fun.
Oh my!
Faster!
Oh my!
So that lady went from like freaking out to laughing so hard she couldn't stop.
Oh
right.
my!
So you needed a Tegan next to you is what you needed.
Oh my! When I was in the Navy, I was in Dam Neck, Virginia for my A school, and then Norfolk for my ship. And there used to be a company called Henson Airlines, which basically they were these like 8-seater airplanes. It looked like a box with wings strapped on it and a one propeller. So we're coming from Norfolk to BWI, and somewhere up there we hit something called wind shear. I didn't know what that was, but these, to show you how small these planes are, you can actually see all the controls and the pilot who's flying the plane. Well, when your wind shear took us straight down like this, and all of a sudden you hear the equipment going whoop whoop, pull up, whoop whoop, pull up. Now, you have not ever seen any like 12 guys in an airplane all look the same way at the same time.
I've been like changing my underwear.
We all had dress whites on, not when we got on the ground. I can tell you, when you hear that out of an airplane and you're right there, and the pilot's just sitting there going, and then when a pilot looks back and goes, hold on, there's a problem.
But see, Jaimie, leading up to, the few weeks leading up to this event, we had to fly up to Nebraska and Iowa and all that good stuff. Some good friends of mine were sending me like little video clips of barrel rolling airplanes and wheels falling off, and I'm like, this really helps.
Yeah, with tail sections falling off, airplanes on fire.
So the night before I was kind of getting a little antsy. We were getting up early in the morning. So I told my wife, I say, hey, I'm just going up and lay in bed and watch TV till I fall asleep. And I'm a big fan of like Family Guy and American Dad and South Park, stuff like that. So I go up and I put Family Guy on. And it's an episode where they had a plane crash and they're stranded on an island. And I'm like, is this like somebody talking to me? But I got to give our good friend, and you know him. He's one of the investigators that do the talking on haunted hospitals, our friend Richard Estep. Richard gave me a book when we were at Malvern Manor, so I'm very much into reading, so I read the whole way home on the plane. So thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be down. Well, we talked about that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be down at Bell Grove Plantation in Virginia. You guys are going to be in what, West Virginia or something?
We will be in West. When was that date for you?
Same weekend.
I'm sorry?
The 22nd to the 24th, same weekend you're going.
What month?
October.
Yeah, we'll be at the
the Roundhouse.
We'll be at the Roundhouse for the Halloween extravaganza. October, it's either 23rd and 24th or 24th and 25th. I have to see, but that weekend.
Yeah, so Richard Estep is actually going to be one of the presenters at the one I'm going down to.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
He's a very nice
great guy.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, I interviewed with him. This story actually.
Okay.
For one of his books.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they Dave and I and Richard and Josh was doing the filming, but they were doing a big thing on Malvern Manor, and we were posting the link, Josh's documentary that we were all dealing with when we were up there for the relief project actually got in a film festival awards thing. So it was like an online voting. That's what we were posting the other day. But yeah, Richard's a good guy, man. He's very knowledgeable, and we love him to death.
Yeah.
And shout out to Josh and Johnny Hauser and all our friends on that side of the world. Can't wait to get back up there. Real quick, let's see what time we got here.
45, but
I got we're down about 10 minutes already.
What got me was the very end of your episode where they did the sheet with all the spirits in it.
Yeah.
That really gave me goosebumps because it was like, when my grandparents passed, and I've known several people that passed, and I've always thought about, there's going to be somebody on the other side waiting for you. And that kind of that gave me goosebumps.
Let me tell you how I know the people in the production company did a good job. When my episode aired and I watched it, I kind of got like chills, and I was the one talking. So that was, I was like, they nailed it, man. They did such a good job. But the
guy they got to play you.
What's that, Jaimie?
They made me tear up.
Yeah, they did such an amazing job.
They did great. But the guy they got to play him, they really needed some work on casting. I'm sorry.
So everybody was talking about the girl that played me. They're like, she looks nothing like you. And I'm like, I got to find one of my pictures from when I was in the Air Force, and I had that exact same hairstyle.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think the actor that portrayed me, I think he was amazing.
Yeah, he was great.
He nailed it. He did a good job.
But he had bushy hair.
No, it was bald.
And
he had the bushy beard.
No, the bushy hair. Yeah. He had the bushy hair. So.
But he did a good job. He was really, I mean, you got to figure, man. They're like, all right, here's the story, and he's got to have these facial expressions, and that's hard to do, man. And the actors that they have on that show, they nail them spot. I mean, when they make the person that the story's about cringe, they're doing a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was.
Wouldn't it be cool if like one of them was watching, like both of those actors are watching right now, going, I played that part.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know that
if
name.
you're watching right now, let us know.
Right. But that was an experience, and I always say, and I can't say this enough, that we're everybody that's involved, no matter how you're involved in this field, we're basically all in it for the same reason. And I always like to say that we're out here with the intentions of finding ghosts, when actually it's the ghosts that make all of us find each other.
That's a good point.
You turned it into Buddha there.
I saw Pedro asked a question about the Air Force. SF is Security Forces. That's the new term.
Uh-huh.
I was Security Police back in the day.
Okay. Wow.
So that was for Pedro. I saw Pedro pop up.
I give so much credit to all you guys that was in the armed forces, because I couldn't do it, man. I mean, I'm in my 24th year of what I do, but I'm not, I don't know if it's discipline, but I just don't have what it takes to be in the service. You know what I mean?
I drive faster than Sunday, so that was
my thing was, I was in 10th grade and I was failing school and I dropped out. My mom gave me a choice: join the military or join somewhere else.
I know the inspiration. Yeah. I know the inspiration that got Dave to join the military.
What was it?
It was a song that came out back in the day.
Oh, Lord. Since this is a G-rated show, I'm just going to do this.
I always got. Anytime that we get an opportunity to take a shot at each other,
we do. We're brothers.
Well, Boats, he's one of my teammates. He was in the Navy too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's glaze. Like,
hey, Boats, what ship were you on? So it takes about 20 seconds to get there, so we don't have to wait. We can keep talking. You can tape it.
But yeah, my dad was in the Army. I never told you that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But that's just something.
Apparently, Jane Gammon liked your comment.
Dave is the nicest, most genuine, honest person you'll ever meet, and I got to give the guy credit.
I love you too, man.
Sometimes he messes up on the technical part. That's why we got Jaimie on the phone, but
Yeah, that was fun.
I know. Hey, if something's going to go wrong, it goes wrong.
Yeah.
How did
You know what though? Like that's when we always notice. It's always like the important cases when all your equipment goes wrong. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were flying out to Iowa, I was just praying that all our cases made it with us.
We had our last investigation that we did. We showed up. Everything was fresh batteries, ready to go, and so we have. The way our team's set up, different people have different jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the girls, she's a photographer, she bends down to get a picture of, I can't even remember what she was trying to take a picture of, and she's like, what the? And then she looks at me and she's like, my battery's dead.
Mm.
I'm like, I just want you to put the battery in. She's like, it's dead.
See, that's what...
all night our equipment was just dying.
That's like with Dave and I, being a two-man unit that we are, we have specific roles. Dave is all the computer, technology, equipment. And then my aspect is, I take care of
you do it.
I take care of the history, the research, and then we come together as investigators.
Yep.
So and we just, our flow works good together.
It does.
What I mean?
So how do you guys, excuse me, do you guys just do, ghost hunting per se, or do you guys venture out into other stuff?
I mean, it really, it depends what the case is calling for. I mean, we do a lot. As you see, as we post, you see we host a lot of events and public investigations, but Dave and I do handle a lot of residential and commercial cases. I mean, we've even had cases where people strictly, it was, I think my land is haunted. But we have basically a constituents we work with that we have on standby
in case we need to pull somebody else in.
Based on the claims that the people are giving us and the preliminary investigations and interviews we have with the client.
You need to talk to our two team intuitives when you talk about land-based stuff.
Yeah.
So our team is a little bit different. We go not only just for haunted houses, if you will, but there's that. So Ashley that keeps popping up. Mm-hmm. She is the most amazing researcher you're ever going to meet.
Cool.
Her research for our team blows me away.
Yeah. See, I couldn't do that
by accident.
I can't do that. I'm get my equipment up, register it, talk to it. Then afterward, I spend hours doing the videos and the audio.
But let me clarify, because when I say I do a lot of research or I have researched, we're talking about two different types of research. You're Jaimie, I believe you're more referencing, if you get called and you're going here, Ashley takes care of the research on that, where when I refer to myself as a researcher, it's more toward I've researched spirituality and what led to paranormal for years and years and years and years before I was into the paranormal. So does that make sense what I'm saying? I get all my background. Like my investigating style is more from what I like to say a religious standpoint. His is more scientific. So when we put them together, it works well. But, I spent so much time in childhood, learning about spirits and visitations and the who, what, where, when, and why. You know what I mean? And that's why I like to refer to myself more of a researcher. But depending on the case that we have, some of the cases we go in totally cold. You know what I mean? We'll have an outside source, usually one of the mediums that we work with. They'll kind of research where we're going, give us a little bit of a heads up, watch out for this or that. But most of the time, Dave and I like to go in completely cold. Yeah.
Like blind as a bat, not knowing and figuring it. We've got one in 4 weeks we've never been to.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting doing it that way, because we have two intuitives that they're more land based, so they can actually go in remotely.
Right.
So we don't tell them anything, and we don't tell our researcher anything.
Right.
And we have found it really effective between using our two psychics.
Mm-hmm.
Our researcher Ashley does a great job at actually proving what they've already said, and they're not talking at all.
Right.
So it's fun when we have that little bit of a reveal before the meet and greet, before we do the investigation. But we found that we're getting a lot more, I guess you could say, answers during our investigations, because now we can target. We know what's happened on this land before. We know who it might be there. You know what I mean? So it's been, things make more sense. So it's kind of, I like talking to other groups to find out what are they doing, how are they doing.
If we're investigating, if we get called in somewhere or whatever, normally, depending on where and what we think it might be, we always have someone do a remote before we get there, but that's just more along the lines for our well-being. We let them keep the facts to themselves because we like to be completely clear-minded, you know what I mean? And then see if anything comes up with the research that they come up with. Before we let you go, I know some of your teammates from New England Spirit Society is watching. I've been in talks with Jaimie, and we got to confirm a date. We're going to have the whole team on. So I'm been totally fascinated with the New England area and everything up there as far as haunts and hauntings.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff that goes on up there.
Dave and I have so many friends up where you all are from, that area, and I just keep hearing these amazing stories. And we really want your team on here so we can have a firsthand account of what the heck we're missing out on. So I will be in touch. Yeah, I'll be in touch to schedule that date. Any last words, Jaimie?
How can people find your team?
So you can go on Facebook, New England Spirit Society, NESS. We have a Facebook page, and then we also have our own website, New England Spirit Society. Just do a search, and it should pop right up. And then on our webpage, you can see, Eric, while you're right there, pop up our webpage address so people can see it, so they don't miss it. And we have email right there through the website. We have a contact me spot so they can hit it.
Very well.
Very nice.
And we're also on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah,
so that's what Boats does.
I do Facebook and Instagram. That's enough. And Jaimie, I cannot again thank you for what you did during that pandemic. And even though a lot of folks, didn't make it through it, I'm sure you did everything in your power to make it as easy and comforting as you all did. And it's such an amazing story. You nailed it. The people from the production company nailed it. And I'm honored that I met you through all of this.
Absolutely. And thank you for all you do again. So
thanks for what you guys are doing. Ernie, you stay safe out there. Right?
Yeah, I will. I go back tomorrow night. So Jaimie, I will be in touch, and we're going to confirm a date to get your whole team on this show.
Definitely.
All right.
And thank you, all your teammates.
God bless. Be safe to you guys.
Thank you for all Jaimie's teammates for watching tonight.
Hey, good night.
Bye, Jaimie.
Have a good night.
You too. She was awesome.
Jaimie's such a nice lady.
Love it.
And it was her story. If you haven't watched her episode yet, you know what it's about now. So you're probably even more intrigued.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. Remember, season 3, episode 9.
And I apologize about the camera, the focus. I don't know if you noticed during the show, it moved a couple times. My dog decided to lay down next to us, and her feet were kicking as she was sleeping.
Every time that camera moved, he looked at. I'm like, it's not me.
Because
a lot of times I stretch out
and y'all don't see it, but I punch him under the table. Like, knock it off, dude.
I kicked the camera.
By the way, I heard something. Guess what I heard? There's something going on with your book.
All right, guys, check this out. Not tonight, but our next episode.
That's going to be in 4 weeks. Not 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're taking a break July 4th.
Yeah, 4th of July, we'll let you all have your life for once.
Next episode in 4 weeks, I am going to announce I got the release date for my book. You will be able to buy it on Amazon Kindle, and The first show that I will have it at is the 2021 Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. So stop by our table, come meet Dave and I and Mike King.
From what I understand, is if you pre-order the book, you get a discount and you get a free autograph with it. Come to the Battlefield Bash. You'll autograph it if you buy it.
So the discount on the book, Dave's covering the difference, right? So let's see if we can make Dave broke by buying my book.
I'm already broke.
Before we go, everybody that was at the Samuel Miller Mansion last night, incredible event.
It was.
We had so much good evidence. Thank you to John McGinnis, our cameraman.
Yes, John, we love you. I know you're here. I've seen you in a couple comments.
You are the best.
You are aces, brother.
Thank you to Kelly Miller, our medium friend. And,
she got down with one of them spirits.
And
apparently a spirit goosed her or touched her, and she got mean, and it made all the equipment go off. I tell
you what, I honestly thought I wasn't sure what happened because I'm not trying by no means to put Kelly on blast, but if you know Kelly, she is the nicest, sweetest girl you will ever meet.
I never heard her yell,
and I seen her get mad.
And she did
because I'm like,
I was like, "You go, girl."
I was like, Dave, what happened? Like, I thought somebody did something.
Apparently, one of the spirits came up and touched her in some way, shape, or form, and she went off on this spirit.
But also, I want to give a thanks to our buddy and good friend Flip. He was at the event last night. The EVP's unbelievable. And also to our friend Loren. She did like a
remote reading
telephone session thing with us.
Remote reading. That's what
it was called. Crazy, man. We had such a good time. But we will catch you all in 4 weeks. Happy 4th of July. For those of you in our area, July 2nd, 2 nights between firework night. We will be at the VFW Hall in Glen Burnie doing a free seminar with the amazing Jeff Leeper. It's all about spirit provocation and why you shouldn't do it.
Yep.
So come see us free to the public at the VFW on Dorsey Road in Glen Burnie, Maryland, July 2nd, 7 p.m.
Guys, thanks for watching, supporting us. And hit the like button if you're on YouTube down there somewhere. I don't know where it is.
It's got the thumbs up.
Yeah, hit that.
See, I'm getting technically better. It's the button with the thumb.
So, and share. Love you guys.
Bye.
You've been listening to Step into the Paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler. Thank you for listening, and listen in next week for another topic and more great guests, right here on WLFE DB Radio Network.
Ruby just texted me.